what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through the part of the presentation that I prepared related to the principles of shortening the sales cycle. And if there are any kind of sound problems or anything like that, I apologize in advance. We're kind of learning this technology as we go. Catherine can text me if there's any problems at her end. She hears any problems that we can potentially solve. So I hope that you enjoy this and that you find it useful. Maybe in the Q&A section, if you can just sort of give us a quick okay to let us know that you can hear the sound all right, and then we'll get cracking. You see the Q&A side there? Everyone hear us okay? All good, says Danielle. Okay, thrive at wellness. Oh, that's Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. Everybody's all right? Okay. Well, at least 3 of you are all right. So.
Yeah, you have to hit that broadcast message button and then type and press enter.
All right. Sounds good. So I'll dive right in then and
okay.
Get cracking.
Want me to do my intro for you?
Oh, why not? Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. So I just wanted to introduce Jason quickly. Jason Tanner has been running his own marketing consulting company for over 20 years, and he helps companies with value propositions and marketing systems. So today he's going to talk about shortening the sales cycle.
And once I'm done talking about the principles of shortening the sales cycle, then Catherine's going to dive in and talk about some of the practical things you can do in your copywriting to use these principles to, again, shorten the time it takes to bring a prospect from being a total stranger to being a paying customer, which is the goal here. So the reason why we're interested in these principles is that by understanding the buying process, you can identify the points in the process where deals stall out. We've all probably had the experience, if you've been in sales, where you think that things are going really, really well, and there's a good relationship kind of building with the prospect. You're really vibing. They seem to be reacting in a positive way to your value proposition. And you're following the meeting, you're excited. And then over the next few weeks, maybe, you have a hard time pinning them down. They seem to be avoiding you. And then they come up with some sort of a reason to excuse themselves from continuing the conversation. And this happens all the time. What we're trying to understand here is what's going on in sort of the mind of that prospect so that we can structure our communication in such a way that we're maintaining the relevance of our value proposition, we're keeping them engaged and excited, and we have the opportunity to move them through the process if what we're selling is something that they actually need. That's the purpose of this presentation. So the Robert Collier principle. Robert Collier was a copywriter, and he said that we should always enter the conversation that is already occurring in the prospect's mind. And it's wonderful if you're doing this, whether you do it consciously or unconsciously, because you feel as though you are participating in something that's important to the prospect. The alternative to this is that whatever it is that you're doing is really an interruption or a left turn or a distraction from what is principally important to the prospect. And then I have a Jeffrey Gitomer quote there: people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. So when someone is trying to sell you on something, they tend to be in a convincing mode. where they're trying to change your mode of thinking about something rather than matching you or meeting you where you are and then helping them on your purchasing journey. Because as Jeffrey says, people love to buy so long as they have the confidence that they're going to make a decision. The benefit here that we're going to be helping people to make better decisions. And understanding this buying process has the benefit that it helps you to improve every part of the process from the beginning to the end, right up until sales. So every part of what you're doing right now in your marketing and sales will improve by reflecting on the psychology, the different steps that people take when they're buying. It'll improve prospecting, your sales prospect, marketing automation, and your social media. So the key thing here, and the most important thing to the prospect, is that they want to make the best decision possible. Whatever it is that they're looking to purchase or procure, obviously they want to be able to make the best decision. And so when we orient our marketing system towards helping prospects to make that best decision, it allows us to participate in their decision. So they get to decide whether or not our materials and the things we've written, the webinars, the advertisements, the videos that we're creating is going to be part of their education so that they can have the confidence they need to pull the trigger at the end of the buying process. And so if you're ever feeling lost when you're creating marketing, if you come back to this principle, it reorients you towards the interests of the prospect, and it gets the interests away from your own. So you're maybe thinking about features, for instance, the various things that your offer, your product, or your service can do for them, or the things that it that it has in its product mix. But if we go back to how just helping them to make a good decision relative to all the other options that are out there, then you are a participant, not just another option in the marketplace. So it's going to help you to move through the different stages, conceptualizing this as a road because of the the landscape shape of a slide. But the best way to think about this is by putting awareness, the first step at the bottom, and then purchase at the top. And then on a worksheet, which I'll share at the end of this presentation, you can kind of fill out ways that you can help people move through the natural stages of their decision journey from the bottom to the top. And I like that sheet to be kind of upside down with awareness at the bottom, because it feels like gravity is working against you, and you really have to lift people up through these processes to purchase. So while it's upside down on the worksheet that I'll share, there is a logic to it. So the 6 stages are awareness, interest, consideration, evaluation, decision, and intent, which are kind of similar, and ultimately purchase. I'm going to talk about the first 5 there in this presentation, and then Catherine's going to help us see some of the practical ways that we can use these. I think somebody out there must have their microphone on because I can hear my voice coming back to me a little bit. And I'm going to point out too that the higher the risk to the prospect, the slower the journey. So they're going to be protecting their interest using this in a very deliberate way if they feel there is a higher risk to them. So for instance, if someone is buying an SUV or a house, they're going to go through this process in a much more deliberate and slow way than if they're buying a cup of coffee or something that has a low risk. An example of one of the things that accelerates the buying process is a referral or a recommendation. And the reason why that accelerates the buying process is that people have outsourced a few of these steps to someone else. And an example of that is if you wanted to buy a video camera and you have some idea of what you're going to buy, but you really haven't done a lot of research, and you find a video camera on Amazon that has 3,000 four-star reviews. What you might find yourself doing, if the price is right and it seems to do everything that you need it to do, you will outsource the consideration and evaluation to those 3,000 people who have recommended that. And we see the same effect happening with a referral. Someone will say, you should really go over to get Cheryl to help you to quit smoking because she worked miracles for me. Well, that's wonderful because I already have a relationship with the person that has provided the referral. And if it worked for him, and since he's someone that I already trust, I have outsourced that experience to him. So I'm going to go straight to Cheryl and see what she's all about. Maybe my decision has already been made, so long as I understand the value proposition that she's selling and it's something that I can afford. So we can see how these can be accelerated. But in their absence, a sales proposition stalls out completely. If they don't have the tools they need to make a decision at the consideration and evaluation stage, then the deal stalls out. And we'll talk about, I'm going to break that down for you a little bit here. So awareness. Awareness is kind of the fundamental part of the decision-making process. At the awareness level, we're thinking about what our problem is, and maybe we know what it is, and maybe we don't. And that's maybe the first job of your marketing system, is to help them understand what the nature of their experience is, what the symptoms might mean, what the causes could be. If we're talking about aspirational marketing, we may show them a video of people enjoying something that they also might enjoy. Just checking there. Yeah, okay. And the other thing is that they may not be aware that there is a solution or an experience out there that they might enjoy or they might want to acquire. So this is very, very fundamental. And you'll see a lot of social media will stop at awareness. They're simply making people aware of the brand, aware of the product, aware of the experience, the thing that they're putting out there, basically showing them the shelves of their store, but they haven't taken it to the next step. So once awareness has been agitated or you have to take the person to the interest stage, understand the interest stage as the next step. So there's an expectation of efficacy, which just basically means if this is a solution, is there some expectation that it could work for them? At the interest level, there are a number of solutions within a class of solutions. And as a marketer, you want to think about all of the options that are available to that prospect, including the big one, which is always the elephant in the room, which is doing nothing. People always have the option of taking no action whatsoever. So at the interest level, we're trying to help them understand the relevance of the class of solution or the type of solution that we sell. And that at this stage, this doesn't disqualify any of our competitors. It introduces them perhaps to everyone who is in our space, in the sense that describing, like for instance, if someone walks to work and they're thinking of buying a car, we are saying, as an alternative to walking, you could be driving. And now they're thinking, okay, well, a car sounds like a good way to get to work. So I'm just talking in broad strokes here. This has worked other people like you, so they have some expectation that it could work for them. And you might use social proof at this point to show that it has worked for other people. But that's not necessarily something that you need to do. You don't have to have a whole bunch of social proof to prove the efficacy of the solution, so long as you go through the other steps that we're going to talk about here. And at this point too, you might talk about the limitations that they may have in their mind. Well, can I afford it? Can I do this given my situation, my health, my ability, my intelligence, whatever things that might prevent them from taking advantage of this class of solution. So the next thing is consideration. So now I'm interested in the class of solution. Perhaps I'm thinking about all of the different cars that are available. So what characteristics of automobiles do we need to understand in order to make a useful comparison between the options inside of the class of options? There's a term that I learned from a friend of mine who college. That's and it's basically a checklist in its most primitive form of all the different things you want to compare when you're thinking about the options within a class. So you might not go through this as kind of strenuously and deliberately if you're picking different types of coffee. But certainly if you are in enterprise sales, your prospects are at least creating a checklist of things to compare. When you get into selling engineering solutions or very expensive and complex solutions, the procurement department will absolutely have a crude checklist or a rubric to compare the options to see whether or not the request for proposal that they issued at the beginning of their procurement process has been satisfied by the proposals that are being submitted. So they look at the options, they look at the possible cost benefit or evaluation factors. If you're trying to educate people on how to develop a system for evaluation, which is a good way to market to people, you might also share with them the questions that they could be asking when they're interviewing salespeople or companies in their evaluation process. So those are some of the things at the consideration level. So there's already a list of comparison factors. At this stage, you're trying to develop a useful set of comparison factors that you can use at the next steps. And you might also talk about the cost of picking the wrong thing as one of the comparison factors that they should be reflecting on. The next one. So we've got our set of comparison factors, and now you're looking at all of the data together and all other things, all of the different factors, and deciding which of them are standing up well against their competitors, against all the other options. So this is an interesting point here. You may have gone through processes where you have sold to someone based on the prospect's evaluation laziness, not necessarily because you have some competitive advantage. So you may be saying to yourself, well, I've sold lots of things where I'm pretty sure they weren't shopping around. And that all that is evaluation. What you want to do is get your value proposition to the point where you understand the characteristics that are being used to compare across the available competitors and have a reasonable chance of presenting in a competitive way. So you can't, you're not relying on evaluation laziness or relying on people to say, this is too complicated. I'm just going to outsource my decision-making process to the 3,000 reviews that are on Amazon. Because certainly in enterprise sales, you haven't got the benefit of all of that social proof. And if you're selling enterprise solutions, every solution is going to be completely unique to that individual. Excuse me. Lastly, we have intent, and this is just before purchase. So all the other things being equal, now we've got our rubric in front of us, where our little list of evaluation points, and out of the 5 that we're considering, there's only 2 that we're really considering as options for us. So all other things being equal, which vendor am I going to do business with? And we see this in the car industry a fair bit, because people will say, all right, I'm going to buy a car. So that's the class of solution. And then they go into consideration. They say, all right, they get all the way down to, I'm going to buy a Ford F-150. That absolutely solves all my problems. And now at the decision intent, all of the things being equal, that is to say, I can get a Ford F-150, a brand new one with the same basic price wherever I go. Which vendor do I choose to do business with? And ultimately, it comes down to the principle of know, like, and trust. Do I know them? Are they relatable, honest? Do they believe in the things that I believe in? Do I like them? Are they personable? Do I have a feeling that they are taking my autonomy or my decision-making process into consideration? Trust. Is there a good after-sales service? In my community, do they have a reputation for honoring their commitments? Is there a good guarantee? Have they given me a risk reversal proposition, like a 30-day, try this for 30 days or your money back? Is there a zero downside? There's no downside to going into business with them. They're protecting my interests actively. So I have that trust. And all other things being equal, particularly when we think about businesses that are part of a chain, we may be interested in understanding, taking location and convenience into consideration at that decision/intent level. And then simplicity of offer. Anything you can do to make the purchase a no-brainer for them. We see this with free shipping. If all other things are equal, the company that offers me free shipping greatly simplifies the math for me when I'm making my final decision. What do we do with this information? We've kind of tackled a lot of different ideas, and what I've done is put this upside down worksheet into a page that you can use in your process, starting at the bottom from awareness all the way up. And whatever marketing that you're doing right now or sales, you can look at this and see, what areas am I leaving out? What parts am I leaving to chance? Am I relying on the customer to either skip the consideration and evaluation part of the process because I'm the only game in town, or to skip it because I rely completely on referrals and reviews and testimonials? So if you're interested in a copy of this, I'd be happy to email it to you. Just send me an email at jason@jason.com, and I'd be happy to shoot that off to you in PDF. And that concludes my part of the presentation. And now I'll pass it back to Catherine to take you through the practical side when as it applies to copywriting. Catherine, are you still there?
Yes, thanks, Jason. If you can make me the presenter now so I can share my slides.
Happy to do it.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've heard about the sales cycle. So now here's how quality copywriting is essential to the sales cycle. So first of all, just a brief, what is copywriting? So it's writing that you do for the purpose of marketing, and it can be either written words or spoken words. So this is everything that you write on your website, in a blog post, on your social media posts, and even what you say in a video or a webinar. It's aimed at your target market, so that specific audience that you're focusing on trying to sell to, and it is using their language on their platforms. So you're using the type of words and phrases in your copywriting that your target audience would use to speak about these problems and solutions when they're talking to their friends or family. And what does quality copywriting achieve? It should answer questions, provide information, educate, and entertain. And it should show how you provide a unique benefit to your prospects, proof that you indeed can deliver this benefit, and a call to action. So what the next step is that you want those prospects to take. So it should really tap into people's emotions and thoughts so that they want to take that action in response to what they've read or heard. So if they've just read a really great blog post and you say at the bottom of it, click here to book a consultation, they should really want to do that at the end because they've really related to what they've just read. And it empowers the prospect to make an informed decision. That's the education piece. So we know that today's consumers really want to make their own decisions, and so you're giving them the information to do that. Copywriting should also include search engine optimization. I won't get into that here because that's kind of like a whole separate webinar, but just that's what helps your business get found faster by more prospects, just using relevant keywords naturally in the context of your writing. That's like for search engines like Google. And it should be very memorable and keep your company or your product or service top of mind to your prospects and even your customers and previous customers. So the 3 R's of a brand story that resonates, because if it resonates, it's going to be memorable. It needs to be relevant. So relevant to the prospect's life in some way, solves a problem for them, helps them achieve a goal or satisfy a desire. So maybe they've got a sore throat and they need some cough medicine. That's solving a problem. Maybe they have a goal to go on a trip to Australia and you're a travel agent, so you can help them achieve that goal. They can satisfy a desire to have better communication in their relationships. So someone like Sherry can satisfy that desire with her business. If you're relatable, the prospect can identify with the situation. So they should recognize in your content that they are experiencing the same frustrations that the blog or the video is talking about. You can bring up that, have you tried other solutions and they failed? And many people will identify with that. That would be a good one for Cheryl, because have you tried other ways to quit smoking? And, that's failed. Here's why my way is different. And then you want to share, the prospect wants to share similar values to the company. So maybe if you use green energy to power your your office, then, that's something that you want to share in a blog post, because people who believe in green energy will identify with the values of your company. And you want it to be real. So you want to have a human element, and also a genuine value proposition. So sharing information about who you are as an individual, and then your company culture. So just like the personality of the company and what it's like to work there, that makes up your company culture. And of course, this is real because it's coming from your genuine desire to serve your customers, to provide them true value by having a quality product or service that you stand behind. And that doesn't mean you're giving it away for free. You still want to be fairly compensated, but it's a win-win situation. So a brand story that is relevant is well-researched. So you want to show that you know your audience really well, that you care about them enough to do this research, to take the time effort to really understand who they are, what their struggles are, what they want in life, and where they spend their time, where they get their information. Are they on Facebook? Are they on Snapchat? So you need to make a connection between the product or service and the benefits that the product wants. And all the benefits pretty well fit into 4 main categories of health, wealth, relationships, or personal development. But you will drill down into each one of these. Like for health, if you're able to help people sleep better at night, that would be under health, but you've really drilled down into a niche and gotten very specific. So that's where you want to target people, and that's where you want to direct your copywriting content to. You want to compel their attention. So starting with headlines that make your prospects want to read more. Really each line of what you write or what you say should want them to read more, make them want to read more. You can also add interest with photos, graphics, videos, charts or graphs, infographics, bullet or numbered lists, and quotes. Don't use all of these all at once, but use them sparingly. Less is more, but you can use them on your websites, in your blog posts, on your social media. Each should have at least one of those things to add some visual interest. And you want to be very clear and concise and use everyday language and use the active voice. A brand story that's relatable to prospects, how this problem and solution applies to them. Use a conversational tone, like you're just having coffee with a friend, and that's how you want to speak on your video or how you want to write on your blog posts, your social media. Just very informal. It's non-threatening. It's no pressure. You're giving them information. You're caring about them, but you're not pushing them towards anything or trying to hit them over the head with a sale. And you can also use analogies and metaphors to illustrate your point. And you want to show them why the product, service, and company matter to them. So again, that's aligning with the values. And your ideal client should just want to be part of your brand story. When they've read and watched and listened to all of this content, they'll start to see themselves in that picture that you are painting, because if they're your ideal client, they are a natural fit with your company. And a brand story is real, so it has the human element and a genuine value proposition. So you want to use examples, stories, and anecdotes that are based on real events. This doesn't mean that you have to just talk about, one client. You can take 3 or 4 or even 5 different people and kind of blend them together and make one that's, technically fictional, but that's based on real events, and shows what it's like to be one of your customers. One sec. Okay. So you want to demonstrate your real values. Be authentic about who you are and what you value. What charities do you support? What volunteer work do you do? How do you treat your employees? Like those kinds of things are all relevant to whether people are going to want to buy from you or not. And share testimonials from real people. Your prospects will be able to see that these are people just like them who have been helped before by your product or service. And that builds confidence that you can also help them. And show your personality. Be human. Yes, definitely keep it professional, but do show your human side. Maybe once in a while you're working at home with your dog beside you, you know, post a picture of that. Something that just shows that, yeah, you're human too. So the results of this brand story that resonates are that it will illustrate your creativity by showing what makes you different and why your company is the best choice. It will inspire brand community by helping you to grow a following of interested people who are more likely to purchase and will keep your company top of mind. And it will intensify your connections by building the know, like, and trust factor and demonstrating your authority. So back to our lovely conversion map and how copywriting fits into this. So the whole point is to nurture your leads towards a purchase, but it's the right purchase. Because we're not trying to sell them something they don't need. We want to really genuinely serve a need or a want with something that's a quality product or service and be fairly compensated in return. So just a recap, purchase is kind of obvious, so I just covered the 5 previous steps: awareness, interest, consideration, evaluation, and decision. So if you are copywriting for awareness, you want to highlight the prospect's problem or pain points. You need to make them aware that they need a solution and that a solution does exist. Encourage them to think about what they want the solution to be, what their wants, needs, goals, desires, dreams, or lifestyle are, and that's what you are conveying in your social media posts, your blog posts, any videos that you do, photos that you share. If they see something that they like, that they're attracted to, they're going to want to be part of that. And then you introduce them to your brand and what solutions you offer. And the formats that would be appropriate for the awareness stage are video, ebook, checklist, tip sheet, or quiz. And all of these things should be available on your website via a landing page that collects the prospect's email addresses in exchange for sending out the content. Copywriting for interest should explain the benefits of your product or service and really be clear about what the prospect will get that is relevant to them. So it may include a solution to a problem and also might include lifestyle or status or something that's a little less tangible. You need to show how this solution will work for people in their situation and demonstrate that the solution will work. It has worked for others. So ways that you can do that are with case studies, testimonials, blog posts, and emails to your list. At the consideration stage, the purpose of your copywriting is to provide an overview of your features so that the prospect can make comparisons. You want to review the prospect's options, including doing nothing, as Jason said. That can be a really powerful motivator when you look at, well, what if I do nothing? What if I don't improve my marketing and I, don't increase my number of customers? But if I do invest in improving my marketing, then, maybe I'll get 200 or 300% of the customers that I have now. So when you look at it that way, the investment makes sense compared with the option of doing nothing. You should explain common mistakes when making this decision and how to avoid them. And you can do this by infographics, podcasts, videos, calculators, or an ultimate guide which is not like a 200-page thing. They're usually like 8 pages or something and lots of pictures, so it's not too intimidating. Copywriting at the evaluation stage should make sure that you explain the risk, reverse the risk if possible. So by doing a free trial or a money-back guarantee. And if you are reversing the risk, definitely explain that and emphasize that you are doing that. Clarify the return on investment, what they can expect to receive, and create the urgency again. Mention the cost of doing nothing. And this can be done with cost-benefit comparisons, a demo video, or a data sheet. And at the decision stage, you're building the know, like, and trust factor. Because as Jason mentioned, they've decided they want to purchase at this point, and they're just picking which vendor they want to purchase from. So that's going to be based on your reputation. Are you known to be honest, community-minded? What your values are, and if they resonate with the prospect's values. And can they expect quality service, including any after-sales service? What if they have a problem with your product? What if it's something that requires routine maintenance? Will they receive good care during that process? And you want to demonstrate your authority as the best person to buy from. Also, if you have any kind of warranty or guarantee, you would want to mention it at this time. And the marketing formats for the decision stage would be a consultation or a quote, a coupon, free trial, live demo, or a vendor comparison. And all of your copywriting, you should have a call to action, and regardless of any stage, because people are unpredictable and they can jump. They might start and be at the consideration stage and suddenly decide, yep, I'm ready to buy. So really, all roads lead to the call to action. It should be very strong, using imperative language such as buy now or click here to book. You want to be very clear. Don't leave any room for confusion about what you want them to do. So we've all seen those websites that are like, send us an email if you have questions, click here to buy now, add this item to your cart, book a consultation here. So that's way too much information. You want to just have one next step. So just figure out what that is, what will be the most productive thing for them to do next, and emphasize that. It should be very simple to access. One click is best, so adding something to a shopping cart or clicking to book something on a calendar, you should be able to get there with just one click. It should be urgent. Provide a reason for them to do it now, such as a limited time discount or a bonus offer. And be creative. Do something that sets your offer apart, even if that's just a cute little graphic or a colorful button, something to attract attention and make it just a little bit different. And ultimately, your goal is really to inspire, because your prospect should be so enthusiastic by this point that you really don't have to sell anything. So how quality copywriting helps to shorten the sales cycle. First, you want to create a clear marketing content plan that moves your prospects logically through the conversion map. So it targets prospects who are already interested, which makes them more likely to purchase. You meet them where they are, which is more convenient for them and saves them time. You provide information and overcome any objections they may have, often before the prospect voices them. So you can save them time doing research or asking questions by having all that information already available. You create and nurture rapport with the prospects, building the know, like, and trust factor. And if you're doing this all along, then it's not something that has to be done all right at the end. You demonstrate proof that your company is the best choice, and respectfully educate your prospects and empower them to make informed decisions. Answer any final questions prior to the transaction, and then provide a strong, clear call to action so they can easily take that final step of purchase. So you can see that when you've really laid everything out in a clear, accessible way, and in multiple different, like some people would rather read a blog post, some people would rather watch a video, some people might want to listen to an audio podcast. So all kinds of different ways that they can access this information, and it's all located in a central place. That should be your website, by the way. Then it really helps to speed up the process and get them from that awareness stage all the way through to the purchase much more quickly. So if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.